Hello everyone, welcome to the new chapter on strings. In this chapter, we are going to handle how we deal with strings in C programming language. Okay, so let us begin. So, what are strings? A string is a sequence of characters that is treated as a single data item. Okay, so basically I have given here a few examples of how we have already used. In fact, the first thing that we did while doing the C programming examples is to use printf command, and when we did printf, inside that we wrote something like this. Okay, so anything inside double quotes is actually a string. Okay, so this is just a way of telling the C compiler that this is a string. Okay, so these are just some examples that I have mentioned over here. Let's now see how a string is declared. Okay, now the declaration is of a string is nothing but string is simply an array of characters. Okay, so if you look at it, if you look at the uh, elements of the string, it is actually different characters. Okay, so there is a character H, then E, then L, so like that, right? So basically string is nothing but combination of characters. So to define a string, we don't have a separate data type called string in C. So instead of that, we use the character array as the way of declaring a string. Okay, so I have just declared two variables over here, two character arrays, one called city of size 10, okay, and one called message of size 15. Okay, so the size tells you how many characters can be stored inside that string. Now, how to initialize string with some default value. Okay, now initialization, since it is an array, the way we initialize is similar to the way we initialize the other variables, other characters, other arrays. So here, look at the second line. Okay, in the second line, if you look at it over here, this is the way we actually initialize the integer and the float data type, simply using curly braces. Okay, so instead of integer, now here the elements are characters. That's why every element inside the curly braces are inside single quotes. Okay, so always remember, if you are giving characters, it should be enclosed within single quotes, and if you are giving the entire string, it should be enclosed within double quotes. Okay, so this is one way of doing it. This is a normal way of doing it, and the first way is the more common way of doing assigning some characters into the character array. In this format, you simply enclose whatever you want to include in the variable with the help of double quotes. Okay, so this and this is exactly the same, and the only difference here is this, in the second type, you have to add the \0 by yourself, and here when you use double quotes, that is added automatically by the compiler. Okay, now what is this \0? So \0 is nothing but the null character. Okay, so every string in C programming should end with a null character. Okay, so the reason is because the character array could have been of any size. Let's say you create a character array of size 50, right, and you initialize it with only 5 elements. Okay, so what about the remaining elements? So those elements will be empty, right? So but when we start reading it, how will the compiler know that you have stored only 5 elements and the other elements are empty? Because anything that is stored inside the memory locations will be treated as some value, right? Some character, ASCII character or something, right? So to avoid that, what we do is we have registered null character, that means \0, as the terminating character. That means after that we will not search for any other character. Okay, so whenever a string ends, we end it with a \0. Okay, so that tells the compiler that that is the end of the string, even though the string may have many more memory locations, but as soon as it reaches \0, it stops there. Okay, so that's why every string should end with \0. And another thing to note from here is when you assign it using double quotes, \0 is added automatically, whereas when you use it with curly braces, you have to add it manually. Okay, so what happens if you forgot to add \0? Okay, so if you forgot to add this terminating character, then the compiler is not going to give you any errors as such, but it will produce unexpected results. Okay, so it is a very good practice to always end it with \0. Okay, so this is just the initialization of the character array without giving the size. Okay, so in the previous case I have already mentioned the size as 7, but in this case I am not mentioning any size, and this size will be auto computed with the help of whatever is the content that you are going to put inside it, right? So in this particular case you are adding hello inside it. So hello means there are 5 characters, and as I already said, you have to include terminating character. So hello 5 plus 1 terminating, that means 6. So the size of the message array should have been 6. Okay, so this is just a mistake. This should have been character. Okay, then message, another the second way in that I am specifying 4 different characters, A, E, I, O, and a terminating character. Okay, since the terminating character is already there, so the total count, the message size will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the size of this array will be of 5. Okay, so I hope you have understood what is the use of null character, and how how this size is automatically calculated as soon as you initialize the variable. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's see what is partial initialization. Okay, let's suppose you have a character array of size 5, like over here I have a character array message of size 5, and you are adding only 2 elements to it, right? So A and E. So but the size of the it can hold up to 5 characters. So what happens is A is stored at the first location, E is stored at the second location, and remaining 3 locations will be replaced by the null character. Okay, similarly over here there are 8 characters that can store in city, but you are storing only 5, so all the remaining 3 will be a null character. Okay, so this is called as partial initialization. Next, now let us see how to read strings from the terminal. Okay, so now we have seen how to read integer values with the help of %d using scanf. We have seen float value with the help of %f, and we have seen even character value with the help of %c. Right, so all these things are fine, but when it comes to entering strings, okay, so there we have the C compiler provides you with an additional 2 format specifiers which you can use to get input from the user. Okay, where the user can enter strings. Okay, so the first one is %s. So we will be using this quite often, right? So %s is used when you want to take string input from the user, and it is used in the following form. You can refer the line 2 of the code. So basically you declare it should have a character array. Okay, there should be a character array here in our case a size of 20. Then like any other variable, the variable we take the input of any other variable, we just provide %s, the format specifier, and the name of the variable or the character array, right? So the name of the variable was country, we are going to give here country. Okay, remember we are not including the square brackets, so it is assumed if we are using %s, the variable that is going to come after the comma has to be a character array. If it is not, it will give you a error. Okay, now second thing to note over here is there is no ampersand sign. Okay, so you need not use ampersand sign over here, because the character basically we are, when we use the ampersand sign, we are actually sending the address to the scanf statement, but as it's an array, it is already storing the address, so you need not provide that to the scanf statement. So always remember, whenever you are taking input, string input, you need not provide ampersand sign. Okay, so that is the first way of using getting the input from the user using %s. Okay, now %s has a small drawback, that it can only read words. Okay, so that means as soon as the user enters a space, okay, let's say for example the user enters hello world, right? So only hello will be stored, and as soon as the user enters space, after the space nothing will be stored into the variable. Okay, so that is the drawback of using %s. Now to resolve that, C also provides you with the second format specifier, which is percentage and brackets, square brackets. Okay, so now this is this particular format specifier will keep reading whatever characters you keep on typing. So it is not going to stop unless you tell it some condition as to where you want to stop it. Okay, for example, in my case, what I've done is I have said that inside the square brackets, the square brackets means it is going to read everything, right? But except, so this symbol is for except, and /n means new line, right? So I am saying that I read everything except new line. Okay, so basically I'm just telling that you keep reading till the user enters a new line, or basically the enter key. Okay, so we will just see a demo of this, and we will then go ahead with the further slides. Okay, so I will just initialize, I will just take this array. Okay, and I will just use %s, and I will just print it, and over here I will just use scanf, and I will use %s and comma and a. Okay, so basically what I'm doing over here is I'm just taking an input, and sorry, scanf, scanf, we are just taking an input and saving it into the character array, and then we are printing it onto the screen. Okay, let us see whether it runs. Okay, so basically it is waiting for something to be entered. Let's say hello. So it prints hello. Perfect. So I will run it again now. This time I will just write hello space world, and if you see now %s saves only hello, it doesn't save the world part. Okay, so that is the drawback of using %s, right? So now we are going to change this, because I want to read multiple words, so I will change the format specifier to this. Okay, so without I'm not going to give a stop condition, and we'll see what happens now. Okay, if I run this right now, okay, I will enter something hello world, and press enter, you can see it is not stopping at all. It is still waiting for you to type some input. Okay, so I will type some other input. You can keep typing some input, but it's not going to stop. Okay, that is because you are accepting all the characters. Okay, so now just to show you, let's say I just use I say that if I press X, then it should stop reading. Okay, so let us try. I run this. So what it's doing is it will take any characters except X. Okay, so if I press X now and press enter, you can see it has stored everything except for the values over here. Okay, except for the X. So as soon as you entered X, it stopped taking the input. Okay, so this concept I'm going to use, and I'm going to replace it with, this time the character that for which I'm going to watch for is the new line character. Okay, so what I'm going to do is whenever the user enters enter, it should stop taking the input. Okay, so I will just press run again, and this time I will write hello, sorry, HELLO world, how are you? Okay, and if I press enter, you can see entire data is saved along with spaces. Okay, so this is the way you take input with the help of this format specifier. Okay, so let's move ahead. So I hope you understood both the difference between both the %s and the other format specifier. Okay, so let's this was the first method of taking the input, that is using with the help of scanf command. Okay, next we are going to see how to take input but with using another function called getS. So basically it stands for get string. Okay, so the way that we use this is pretty similar to scanf. The only thing is this doesn't take input in a formatted way. It simply takes input and stores it into the variable that you give, right? So basically this is the syntax. So you give getS and give the variable name, that's it. Okay, so two drawbacks for this is it can read only one variable at a time, so one string at a time. It cannot read multiple strings, but the other scanf can read because it's a formatted string, so it can read multiple variables, multiple strings. And second thing, the advantage of this is it can read sentences, so it will wait for the user to type the entire sentence, and until unless the user enters the enter key, till then everything will be stored inside the variable. Okay, now whether you're using the first scanf method or getS method, one thing to note over here is you should not exceed the limit of the character array. Okay, so for example, your country size, the size of the array country is 20, so you should not enter characters more than 19. Okay, because one character will be used to store the null, so total you can store up to 19 characters. Okay, so more than that, the compiler as such will not give you any error, but it will give you unexpected results. Okay, so I hope you have understood. So we will just take an example for this. Okay, so this is we have already seen the scanf. The same thing I'm going to do with getS, this time with a simple command. Okay, I will just run this and I will write hello world, enter, and you can see it takes the data and saves it inside A and it prints it out. Okay, so this was just a simple demo of how we can use getS and scanf. Okay, so now the question is which method is better. Okay, so should I use scanf or should I use getS? Okay, so now this depends completely on the application that you're working on. Okay, If it's a very simple application where you just want to take a string input or basically a word from the user, then scanf or getas both will do, right? And it will be much easier to use getas in most of the cases. But if you want to take formatted input, or you want to have specific width input for the user to enter, or you want to limit the number of characters you want the user to enter, then it is always better to go for scanf command. Okay, so we will see all these additional elements of the format specifier in the next lecture, but for the time being we will stick to using scanf. Okay, so we can always do the same program with the help of getas also. Okay, but only limitation of getas is you cannot format your input, you cannot take formatted input. And the second drawback of getas is you cannot take multiple in variables in one command. Okay, but scanf has this facility. You just have to specify multiple %s and you can take multiple inputs from the single scanf statement. Okay, so now let us begin with some of the programs. Okay, so the first problem statement is to get a string from the user and display it on the screen, and I think we have already done that. This is just this is what we have done. Okay, so the program is very simple. You define a character and you get the input using either scanf or getas and then print it onto the screen. Okay, so let's go to the next screen, next problem statement. So the next problem statement says that write a program to check if there is a vowel character in the entered string. Okay, so you just have to take an input and then check if there is a vowel. Okay, so let's try that. Okay, so let's say let the variable be a, then we are doing getas, and then here what we are going to do is we are going to have a let's say while loop. Okay, so whenever we deal with strings, I usually prefer using while loop. Okay, so basically you can use any type of loop you like. Okay, but I prefer using while loop. Okay, so now the condition we will write it a little later. Okay, so now what we have to do over here is we have to first go and check each and every elements of the array A and check if that character that is there inside that particular location is a vowel or not, right? So for that I want to index I want to check, let's say, A of 0. Okay, first I will check A of 0. A of 0 is the first location. Okay, and then I will check I will check if it is equal to character A, or I will check this will be inside a if statement. I'm just formulating it. Okay, so first I will check if it is equal to A, then I will check if it is equal to E, then I, then O. So like that I have to check for each and every character A, E, I, O and U, right? So once it is checked, if I find it, then immediately I will say the character vowel is present in the sentence, right? But if it is not there, I will go for the next location. Okay, so next location will be 1, and I will do the same for the I will check for whether the vowel is present or not. If it is there, then I will immediately print and stop the program. If it is not there, then I will check for the next, and this has to be done till the end of the string. And if you know what is the end of the string, so I have already mentioned every string ends with the null character, right? So to check if the string has ended or not, you just have to check whether A of a of whatever is the index. So let us say the index is stored in a variable I. Okay, so a of I is not equal to backslash 0. Okay, so what happens now is if it is equal to backslash 0, this program will stop. Okay, if it is not equal to backslash 0, this will keep on continuing. Okay, so I am going to check for all the characters that you have entered, and if it is a vowel, I will stop the program and print that there is a vowel in the sentence. Okay, so let us first now since I have used I have to declare I somewhere, right? So I will just say int I and initialize it to 0. 0 because my character array starts at index 0. Okay, so once that is done, so as soon as it comes after getS, when it comes to while loop, it will first check a of 0 is not equal to null. Okay, because let's say the user has entered. Okay, I will just remove this, and let's say you run the program and user enters hello. Okay, and you know, after the hello is entered, the compiler will automatically put the last character as backslash 0. Okay, so this is the last character. This is your last character. This is your first, second, third, fourth and fifth, right? So when I check over here, when it comes over here, let's say the user entered hello. So a of what is the value of I? It is 0 right now, right? So a of 0, is it equal to null? No, it is equal to h. So this is true. So if this is true, it will go inside and it will run the code whatever is inside the while loop. So now here I have to check whether it is a vowel or not. So I will simply use a if statement, and I will do a of I is equal to the character a, or so I will just copy this and paste it, undo. Okay, I will just copy this and paste it few times and replace everything with the appropriate characters a, e, I, o and u. Okay, so if any one of them is true, the result will be true. Why? Because we are using an or operators, right? So since it is or, so any one of them, if either a, e, I or o or u is present, this statement will return true. Okay, so if any one of this character is there, then I will print vowel present, right? I will print this, and then I will simply, I want to exit because I need not check the remaining. I did not check the remaining characters, because once I find because my aim is to find whether there is vowel present or not. So I have found a vowel, so I need not go ahead and check the other characters, right? So I can just do, so whenever I want to quit the program, I just do return 0. Okay, then once this is done, if it does not return over here, then what it does, it should do I++, right? So if nothing happens, so if in the first index I of 0 nothing happens, then it should come over here and it should increment my I, right? So I is incremented. So now what happens, this I becomes 1. Okay, at 1, you know, e is there, so e is also not equal to 0, right? But then e matches over here, so it comes inside this if statement and e matches over here. So that means this if statement will be true, and you will print vowel present and kill the application. Okay, and what if I enter something like hi, sorry, by. Okay, so the user enters this by. Okay, so I of 0 is b. B is not a vowel, right? Then it enters, okay, I am sticking to only lowercase letters. Okay, so b is not there in this vowel, so it will come over here. This will be false, so it will not execute the inner statements. Then I plus plus, so I will become 1, and I of sorry, a of 1 is y, and again y is not a vowel, so again this will not be executed. And after that I will become 2, and 2, a of 2 is null character. Okay, so null character, so this statement becomes false. Okay, so as soon as the while loop becomes false, so this stops the while loop and comes out of it. And now here I will just print that vowel is not present. Because if all the characters are checked and none of the characters match a, e, I, o, u, that means the vowel is not present. Okay, if I just run this and I entered hello, so vowel is present. Then if I enter by, vowel is not present. Okay, so this is how you handle this task. Okay, let's switch to next task. I will just clear out everything before I, okay, let's switch to next task. So the next task is to write a program in C to find the length of a string without using the library function. Okay, so luckily I have not cleared the previous code, so the program will almost remain the same. Now here what I have to do is find the length of the string. Okay, so obviously what we can do is here we have to find out how many characters the user has entered. Okay, so one thing that I can do is, okay, so I will just remove this from here, remove this, let me remove everything. Let's let this be the starting point. Okay, so I have declared I equal to 0, let the I be there. Okay, then I have declared a character array of size 30. Then I have taken input from the user with the help of getS, and now what I have to do is find the length of this. Right now there are two ways of doing it. Okay, so the simple way would be to just use a library function, like you can use size of. Okay, or you can always use now see the size of will give you the size of the variable. Okay, so it will always return 30, right? So I will just show you what I mean by that. Okay, I will just do a printf. Okay, and I will do %d and comma size of a. We'll just run it and let's say hello. Okay, so you can see what it gives me. Okay, so it tells me whatever is the string that you enter, it will always give me size of 30, because the size of command gives you the size of the array and not the number of strings entered. Okay, so this will not work in our case, right? But then there is another library that you can use, string.h, so that we will see in the next lecture. Okay, so there you have a function called string length, so you can directly use that and you can get it. But here if you look at the aim, we have to do it without using library function. Okay, so to do that, what we are going to do is, again, so whenever you have a array, always remember we will have to use a while loop. Okay, and basically the while loop is going to remain the same for whatever program you are going to do, right? So it will be always something like this, and you will have to check not equal to your null character. Okay, so this logic, what we are going to use is, if you remember, if the user enters anything, okay, so let's say user enters hello. So if you remember, any string that the user enters, it is always terminated by \0. Okay, so the null terminator. So what we are doing over here is, we are going to run a while loop, and we are going to run it till you reach the null character. Okay, so you are going to read every character one by one, and once you reach here, you are going to stop. Okay, and while you are reading this value, you're going to you are going to increment the value of your string length, and finding out the number of characters. Okay, so let us say, actually you could use I also, but let's take another variable called count, and let's say initially there is nothing. Okay, so the count, that means I'm assuming that user has not entered anything. Okay, so now it comes over here, it declares a character array, it gets the input, it comes over here, it checks if the first character is a null, so it finds, okay, no, it is H. So what I do is, I simply increment count plus plus. Okay, so I just increment count plus plus, and then I have to increment the index also. Okay, I plus plus. Okay, so now you must have understood the necessity. So there was no necessity to have two different variables over here. Okay, so you can see the count as well as the I, both are going to give me the same result, right? So it's better that we declare only a single variable. Let's forget about count, and we just use I. Okay, okay, so so let's take this example. Okay, so first it reads H, so at the first location it is H, so a of 0 is H, so it is not equal to null. So now I becomes, from 0 it becomes 1, then it checks E, it is not null, so now it becomes 2, it checks L, that is also not null, so now it becomes 0 1 2 3, then it becomes 4. Okay, so at this point it is value of this is 4, and it will come over here, it will do I plus plus, so it will come to look at location 5. Okay, so this is basically location 0 1 2 3 4, and now the I value is 5. Okay, so as soon as it comes to 5, you will see that this matches with the null character. Okay, so this for loop will stop, and currently whatever is the value of I will be your length of the string. Okay, so because you have done I plus plus, so I is nothing but the index, and you can see there are 5 variables, 5 characters. So your string is your output should be that you have 5 characters in your string. Okay, so number of is, I will just simply use %d, and I will just print I. Okay, so let us see if it works. Okay, so I will just write hello, so it says number of characters is 5. If I change it to something else, let's say hello world, the number of characters is 11. Okay, so that is the number of characters that I have entered, that is excluding the null character. Okay, so I hope you understood this. Next, let us switch to the next problem statement. In this task, we have to write a program to print the individual characters of the string in the reverse order without using any library function. Okay, so basically what we have to do is the user will be entering, let's say hello, so it should print it in the reverse order. For this, the you can obviously use a library function, and this will make it much more easier. But since the aim says that you do not have to use a library function, so we will do it with basic programming. Okay, so let's start. So the basic structure remains the same. So I have a variable for the index, it starts at 0. Then I have a place where I'm going to store my data, my string. Then I'm going to get the input from the user, and now I'm going to run a while loop as usual. I will just run a while loop, and here the condition will always most of the time will remain the same. I'm just checking whether it is a null character or not, and if it is, I will just do an increment. Okay, so this is similar to the last program that we have done. Okay, so but the way I'm going to do this is, basically I have to first, now what I have to do is I have to take this input. Okay, let's suppose the user enters hello, and I have to take o first and save it into another variable. Okay, then I have to take l, then that means I'm going in the reverse order. Okay, so for that, first and foremost, I will need another array of the same size. Okay, so basically a will be the original input and b will be where the place where the reversed information will be there. Okay, so now what I have to do is simply I have to go one by one from the rightmost side towards the leftmost side, right? So I have to start reading by my first character from the right now, but this is not possible unless we know the size of the string. Okay, and if you recall, we have just done that program where we found out the size of the string, right? So this is what it looked like. Okay, so basically I'm just counting the number of positions and just incrementing one by one each whenever it is not null. Okay, so at this place it is not null, so I increment it by 1, then again by 1, so it keeps on incrementing till you reach null character, and as soon as null character is there, that is where that is the size of your code, right? Size of your string. So now since we have the count, okay, and we want the count to be stored somewhere, so let us take another variable, let's say count. Okay, and we store the I inside count. I store the I inside count. So once you have got the count, it is the number of variables, number of characters inside the string. Now what I can do is I can just run a for loop. Okay, so where I will start from, I will start from 0, and I should be less than count, right, and I plus plus. So these are the indexes of b, so b of I, right? So now I'm going to run my code from 0. So if hello is the word that is entered, then it will run from 0 to 4. Okay, so it should run till 4. So count will be 5, so less than count. Less than count means it should run from 0 to 4. Okay, so it will go one by one every step. And now I have to retrieve. So when this is happening, so I am going to store. So this is for A. So over here, when I want to store it for B, so at the first location I should have O. In the second location I should have L, E and H, and then at the end I should have a null character. Okay, so this is what I want, right? So the first position I have selected, okay, but I want this character from A. Okay, so if I do, let's say, A of I, what happens is, since I value is 0, so it will take out H and put it over here, but this is not what I want. Okay, I want this value and taken out from here, and I want to put it over here, right? So to do that, what I can do simply is I can subtract the length from I. Okay, so I will just do count minus 1. Okay, because my count will be 5, right? So total 5 elements. I have to, this index of this is, I will just write down the index also so that you can understand it better. Sorry, it starts from 0 1 2 3 4. Okay, so index of this location is at 4. Okay, and this is 5, so the null character is at 5. So this is the 5th location, and this is the 4th location. So I want value, or I want B of I, that is B of 0, but the value of A of 4. Okay, so now to get that, I have B of I, so I is 0, so B of 0, but I want A of 4 over here, right? So to get A of 4, currently the value of count is 5, so if I decrement the count by 1, I will get 4, and then I subtract it with I. Okay, so if I just find the values for this for the first iteration. Okay, so for the first iteration, this will be B of 0 is equal to A of count is 5, right, minus 1 minus 0, so this comes out to be A of 4, right? Similarly, if let's say I is 1, okay, so this will be B of 1 equal to A of A of count is still 5 minus 1 minus 1. Okay, because I is 1, so this becomes A of 3, right? So it is going perfect. So at 1 I should have 3, at 2 I should have 2, right? So let's see if it works. So B of 2 and A of, this is count is 5 minus 1 and minus I value is 2, right? So I will just subtract I from here 2, so 5 minus 1 minus 2, so 5 minus 3 is 2. Okay, so this works, and this will work for 5 locations from 0 to 5 locations, that is from 0 to 4. Okay, so this is the statement of how to reverse the string. Okay, so once the reverse is done, okay, one step that is remaining is to add the null character. Okay, so let us suppose that we don't add the null character, okay, and directly do the printf. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I will just use %s and then print B, because B is where we have the reversed string. Okay, so let us run that. Let's write hello, and you can see it has there is some issue over here. Oh, I have forgotten to add not equal to. It should be not equal to. Okay, So I will just run it again, hello, and you can see it has reversed it, but it has printed few more additional characters. Okay, so that is because you have not added the null character. Okay, so that is very important. So to add the null character, you just take B and you have to get to the last element, and you can get to the last element by just doing because right now I is at whatever is the value of I, it has started from 0, then it went to 1, then it 2, then 3, then 4, and when it became 5, you exited the for loop. Okay, so that means current value of I is 5, right? So if I just use I over here, and if I just put this as null character, okay, so it will automatically store null over here at the next position. Okay, so you must have understood why I have done this. Okay, because after the for loop runs, currently the value of I is basically at the last position. Okay, so if I run now, you will see the difference. I will just write hello, and you can see the string has been reversed successfully. Okay, so I hope you have understood how we can manipulate the strings with the help of the while loops and for loops. The main thing to understand over here is this null character is very important. Okay, so basically this is used to find out whether the string has ended or not. Okay, so we have used this to find the string length, and also we have used this as a terminating character at the end of the reverse string. Okay, so always remember to add this at the end. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I will just show you the homework problems. Okay, so the homework problem number 1 is write a program to count the total number of words in the string. Okay, so you can try this at home. So now what is the logic behind this? The logic is pretty simple. You just have to compare, you just have to go one by one to all the characters and check if it is equal to space. Okay, so if there is a space, that means the word has ended. Okay, so that means your count should increment by 1. Okay, so that means there is one word. Okay, and finally your output should be the number of count plus 1, because the last word will be having another word at the end, right? So that is the logic behind this. Let's go on to the next one. This is a very simple program where you want to copy one string to another string. Okay, so it is very easy. Just use a while loop, check for the null, and you just copy the index of first to the second array. Okay, so the third one, you have to remove special characters in the string and keep only alphabets and numbers. Okay, so what you can do is you can just find out the ASCII values of the special characters and check if the character that you are checking in the string belongs in that range, and if it is in that range, you just skip copying that and copy only those characters which are alphabets or numbers. Okay, so here is basically like the previous program where you have to copy the strings, but copy only those strings which are alphabets and numbers. Okay, then let's try this. This program is very important, and this usually comes in your theory exams too, right? So in this program, what we have to do is we have to check if the string is palindrome or not. Okay, so what basically we have to do is we just have to um, uh, check whether the original string and the reverse string, whether they are same or not. Okay, so Since we have already done this program where we are checking, we are reversing the string, okay, it is just a continuation to this program. So so at this particular stage, if you see, we have two strings. We have the first string, that is a, which is the original string, and we have the second string, which is b, which is the reverse string. We just have to have another while loop. Okay, I will just copy this while loop from here and check the check for null. It will run for till it reaches null, and I will just keep on incrementing the value of I. And just for your knowledge, I should initialize I again to 0, because in the previous case I was 5, right, in the previous for loop, because we are using the same variable again and again. So you should always reinitialize the variable, right? So I have reinitialized the variable. So now the I values is starting from I equal to 0, and it is going to keep on increase till it reaches null character. Okay, and now all I have to do is I have to have a let's say I declare another variable, let's say pal count. Okay, so this is basically going to count the whether it is how many elements are same in the reverse statement. Okay, so let us say, let us just check if a of I is equal to b of I, right? So a of 0, so it is what it's doing is a of 0 and b of 0 same. Okay, if both of them are same, then that means I will just increment the pal count by 1. Okay, so at the end, this will now it will I do I plus plus, it will check for the next two characters. If they both are same, then it will check for the next, and like that it will keep on going. Okay, so once all this checking is done, according to you, what will be the value of pal count at the end if it is a palindrome? Okay, so if it is a palindrome, let's say for example the string is ma'am. Okay, so if this entered string is ma'am, if I reverse the string, I get ma'am, right? So my first character in the original and in the reverse is same, so my pal count will increase from 0. Okay, so here I have missed the initial value, it should be starting with 0. So the initial value will, since these both are same, so this will increment to 1, then again these are same, again it will increment to 2, then this will become 3, and this will become 4. Okay, so this will keep on incrementing till the values of pal count is equal to the number of character elements in the string. Okay, so there are 4 elements, and what do you think will be the count value? That is also 4. The count is basically your I, and this I was to find out the length of the entered string, right? So the length of the string is 4, and the number of items that match is also 4. So that means your string is a palindrome. Okay, so I will just write if pal count is equal to count, then that means the string is palindrome. Okay, so if I just run this, let's say hello. Now hello is not a palindrome, so if I press enter, it doesn't print anything, right? So that is because in the else I should have written the statement that if this is not equal, then that means it is, the string is not a palindrome. Okay, so let's run it again. Let's type hello, and it says the string is not a palindrome. Let's enter ma'am, and it says the string is palindrome. Perfect. Okay, so I hope you have understood what is going on. So basically I'm just in the first step over here, this step I'm counting the number of elements inside the string. So this comes out to be 4 in that particular case if the user entered ma'am. So this comes out to be 4. So the value of I is stored inside count, so that is nothing but the size of the string. Then I use the concept of reversing, where I just subtract I from the count, the length of the string. Then at this particular stage I have two character arrays, one with the original string and another with the reversed string. The only job left is to run a while loop again and to check if the characters at every location is the same. Okay, so basically I'm going to check the first location of both the characters, and if it is same, I have declared a new variable called pal count, which is going to increment by 1 whenever it is same. Okay, so it keeps on checking all the locations till it reaches null. As soon as it finishes the checking, if it is a palindrome, then the simple logic is the count, the string count and the pal count should be equal. Okay, so the number of similar elements and the string count, if both of them are equal, then that is a palindrome, the string is a palindrome. Or if it is not, then it is not a palindrome. Okay, so I hope you have understood this particular program, and in the next chapter we will be covering the library functions, the string.h library functions, and few more of the concepts in the string chapter. Okay, so I hope you understood. Let us meet in the next chapter.